edge, hut. Mark time, march at the half step. Forward, march. Color guard, ho! Prepare to post the colors. Post colors. Mark time as you were. Preset, arms. Order, mark time, march. Left turn, march. At the half step. Forward, march. Before we be seated, we'll post the POW flag. I am not John Scudder, but now I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Well, thank you all for being here today. We may not be many, but we're the proud few. And I think I can speak for all the veterans. We do appreciate you coming out on a day like today to be here with us. Several years ago, I got involved at the Elmhurst College with their freshman seminar. And it's a special course that freshmen take. I guess they get a choice between a couple of seminars. It's led by Dr. Mary Walsh. And each year we provide anywhere from 4 to 5 veterans that go in to meet the class, talk to them about their military experience, why they got in the military, how it shaped their life from that point on. They are required to read The Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw, and then I guess they write a paper and talk about their experiences. Well, we're pleased to have 2 students here today from that class that's going to tell you a little bit about how that course and how meeting the veterans that we put into their classroom, what it means to them and what they got out of that course. And I want to say right up front, I am so proud to be working with Elmhurst College. I don't know of any other school that's doing this kind of thing to teach their students to respect the veterans and what they went through. One thing that when you get in the military, you give up a lot of freedoms. You don't have the freedom to do a lot of things. You're told when, where, what, and when, and how to do it. So that's one thing you give up. So they do make sacrifices, and not only the veteran, but the families. And I'm really pleased the other day, or yesterday I think it was, over at Elmhurst College, when they recognized the vets, they asked the families to stand because they sacrifice as well. So at this time, I'd like to introduce you to Matthew Conti and Alex Raff. They want to say a few things about their experience.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. My name is Alexander Ralph. I am a freshman attending Elmhurst College. I'd like to thank Dr. Mary Walsh and Mr. Bill Shanklin on the opportunity given to speak here today and for how honored I am to speak here today. We are gathered here today to remember the men and women who served, who fought, and sacrificed for our country when needed the most. We recognize the fallen that gave their lives for not only their loved ones, but to the men and women who stood beside them and for the homeland. On behalf of the student body of Elmhurst College, I would like to thank the veteran speakers that have spoken in class, giving their guidance and insight of what it took to display true courage and bravery. Not just in the battlefield, but in the community, being the leaders that have set the standard of work ethic and commitment to others. We thank you for the opportunity that you have given us every day, engraving a legacy in our institution and our daily lives to give us the lead way to live what we call the American dream. Veterans Day is a day to remember not just the ones that have fallen and fought for our country, but a time to remember what we stood for and the journey of protecting our freedom and the freedom of future generations. Every member that has served in the branch of a military, whether being the Army or the Navy, has made a difference in our nation. To look forward to our soldiers in active duty protecting the home front. We thank them for the sacrifices they've made for us to carry along the freedom that was fought for us in the beginning. Having a brother actively serve in the United States Coast Guard shows me firsthand what it takes to make a difference in our community. For the sacrifices that is made by volunteers to protect the ones that they love and the freedom that has been made, and to know what he does helps not just himself, but the others around him. I cannot thank the people here today more for their actions that helped shape our country and what it is today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Conti. I'm currently a freshman at Elmhurst College. I'd like to first start off by saying how honored I am to speak at this event and honor the veterans standing before me. I would like to extend my thanks to everyone who helped today become possible, Mr. Bill Shanklin and Dr. Walsh. We'd like to recognize the risks that these men and women faced while they were veterans in the armed services. In my first year seminar class, we have been lucky enough to have various veterans from as far back as Vietnam all the way up to modern day Afghanistan come speak and share their stories with us. These veterans have all shared a piece of their lives with us, and every one of their stories have touched me on a personal level. For me, my family's military history is very long. It started all the way back in the Civil War whenever my ancestors, fresh off of being freed from slavery, helped fight the Confederates and drive them back. This has continued all the way up to the present day with my father currently being a member of the Air Force Reserve. He fought in Afghanistan for 5 years. He missed a lot of my childhood. I know how that affected me, kind of how Mr. Shanklin mentioned the families and what they go through. Sorry. I'm very proud of my family's history, and hearing all of these veteran stories has only made my pride that much stronger. These men and women who proudly serve are some of the best our country has to offer. They come from all walks of life, religions, cultures, and economic backgrounds, but they leave all those at the door when they sign up to become a member of the U.S. military. Without these brave men and women protecting us, our country would never be able to achieve the freedom we strive for, and for that, we say thank you. Thank you.
And at this time, I see Dr. Walsh is here. Dr. Walsh, would you please come up here for a minute? Come on. Anything you want to say about your class? She's the lady that's made all this happen.
We are so privileged to have the veterans come to our class. We speak and learn a lot about service, and so it's really important that we include the supreme sacrifice that military veterans make. And I'm always so thank you to all the people who served here. Thank you to the families, and thank you for those moving remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Lori Tompos in the audience too. Lori's been a veteran that has a very distinguished background. She's gone in to talk. I saw John Scudder. He's going to be hiding from me the rest of the day. He made it. But it means a lot to us to go in to see these young people listen, and they're like sponges. Many of them, as so it was just stated, they have family, and it does touch them, but it adds to their overall understanding. There's a lot of people out there on the front lines protecting our freedom. At this time, I'd like to invite General Wendell to come forward for our prayer and make a few comments about not only the American Legion's 100th birthday, but the American Legion, or the Elmhurst American Legion's 100th birthday, but the American Legion in general. General Wendell.
Well, it's an honor to be called upon and to share together with you. And I want to just say again, I'm very impressed with these two young men from Elmhurst College. They just informed me that they soundly beat my alma mater in soccer. We love you guys anyway. But when we think of the fact that it was 101 years ago that which was called the Great War, and I'm not sure why they call it why war is great, but it was to produce freedom. But the point is that the freedom didn't last that long. And then we were called upon to step up and to pay the price and to secure freedom again. I was 17 years old as a high school student when I joined the Naval Reserve. And I still have my uniform. And I have found one thing is true of military uniforms. They shrink in dark closets. And then, a year after that, the day that we are having today, of Veterans Day, was a day to honor those who have fought and died in World War I. And then years later, declared to be a Veterans Day to honor all who have served in military service. I served as a chaplain with the Air National Guard, and I'll tell you, I'm closer to 90 than I am to 80. It makes me think it was a different era when I was 17 and put on the white uniform and did basic training up at Great Lakes. And having the privilege and the opportunity to serve. But I did a little bit of study on the internet the other day, and what I found was very sad. It's good in the sense that the number of persons in active duty and serving in the military, the number of casualties is far down than what it has been before. But as I came in and I saw the police officers and shook their hands and thanked them for their service, because when I'm at an airport and I see a young person, and they're all young, in military uniform, I go up to them and I thank them for their service. I do the same when I see persons wearing a police officer's uniform, since on my wife's side of the family we have had 2 police officers. And in my research the other day, I found that now we owe we always have, but a tremendous thanks to the police force throughout the nation. And I checked out for 2018, and currently the statistics are sadly the same. For every 1 military person on active duty who was lost in battle, there are 4 police officers whose lives are taken here in our United States defending us in our own homeland. And so we owe a great thanks to those men in blue who lay their lives on the line 4-1 at this present time in loss of life. Earlier this morning at the York High School, there was a wonderful, wonderful service in honor of those who are veterans. And I wrote my family because in our family, there are 20 of us, including me and my wife, 19 rather, altogether. I better keep that straight. And 11 of our family live out of country on the mission field. But before I came to this building this morning, I wrote to every member of our family and expressed to them that which took place already and that to which I was going to go to 30 minutes after I wrote that email. And in that email, I wrote this, that this morning, one of the things that was so outstanding for me at the high school was after it was all over and my wife and I were ready to leave, a young student came up nearby and I saw her at the side and she put out her hand to thank me for service. A very petite, very little, I think she may have been a freshman, perhaps not more than a sophomore. And she thanked me. And she was handicapped. And then I saw her limp away to go to class, to further her education. And I'm thinking the fact that it's because of persons who have served in the military and those who have served in active duty. And I look at one right here, a young lady right back there, who has served our country so well. That makes it possible for us to enjoy the freedoms that we have. And all too often, so many take it for granted without realizing the price that has been paid by the few for the many. And being a chaplain and being on staff at a church here in Elmhurst, they have made me pastor to seniors. I think what that might mean, someday they're going to let me be pastor to freshmen and sophomores too. Let's pray. Our Father in God, we thank you for this great nation, a nation that has been really unparalleled in history, a nation where we have the freedoms that some have fought for to secure for us. And may we never take those for granted, because they could slip away if not protected. And we thank you for those men and women in our military branches of services. We thank you for the police officers and those in the fire departments. Each one who serves to protect us as a nation and as citizens in our own hometown. And I thank you in the name of Christ, my Lord. Amen.
Thank you very much, sir. And now musical selection by Brian Costello. Thank you, Brian. Each year, right around 11 o'clock, we all stand and face east. That's been a tradition since the end of World War I to recognize all of those troops that didn't come home. So at this time, could we all please stand and face east, which is that way, for just a few moments. Thank you very much. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce us to Mayor Steve Morley for a couple of comments. Steve, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Bill. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'd like to first thank the Park District, Jim Rogers and his whole staff. Always very flexible on a day like today. It's usually a 50-50 chance we'll be inside or outside. I personally am very happy that we're inside today. I know that when I got up this morning, I lifted up the shade right next to my bed. Oh. And all I could think about is people like Bill Shanklin and Lori probably looked out and goes, I've seen worse. On behalf of the city of Elmhurst, I'd like to welcome you all to this Veterans Day service. I'm truly grateful to be here with you today as we honor the men and women who serve our great country. This day is so important as we stop to reflect on the meaning of Veterans Day. Each year we gather at this location to show our respect for the courageous men and women who serve our country. Our veterans make many sacrifices. They spend time away from their loved ones and put their lives on the line for our freedom. America would not be what it is today without them. It's because of this service that we can sleep at night knowing that our country, our homes, and our loved ones are safe. For many veterans, the fight continues after they return home from service, with both mental and physical challenges. So with a humble heart, you might ask yourself, what can I do? So I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm going to ask for some participation from the audience. How many people have a veteran in their family? Please raise your hand. How many people know a veteran? Please raise your hand. Keep your hands up. Anybody know a veteran from out of state? How many people have called that veteran in the last month? Keep your hands up. How many are going to call that veteran today? I'm glad to hear it. I'm going to ask you to call all the veterans you know today and just say thank you, a plain and simple thank you. And if you're watching this at a later time and not on Veterans Day, that's okay. Even if you missed Veterans Day, you can still call that veteran that you know. I know personally I have to call my cousin Phil, who I talked to quite a bit. My cousin George, I haven't talked to in 4 years. My fault. My cousin Mike, who I got to see this summer. And one of my best friends, Mark Malin, you might notice he's missing. Our good friend Mark Malin has not experiencing the weather that we're having. He has moved to Florida, and he will be missed. There are many other ways you can support a veteran. You can hire a veteran. You can visit a veteran at the hospital, donate or volunteer to a veterans organization, or keep a veteran in your thoughts and prayers. I have another question for you out there. How many people know we have an American Legion here in Elmhurst? Please raise your hand. How many people ate lunch at that American Legion in the last month? 2 months ago for me. How many people are going to eat at that American Legion for lunch this month? I can see more hands. All right, I appreciate that, and they appreciate that. You can visit and support our American Legion, post THB number 187. The Legion just celebrated their 100th year anniversary. You can also honor the veterans while thinking of them as you serve others, whether it is volunteering, helping a friend, listening to someone who needs support, or just a kind word and being a compassionate person. We all have the ability to do great things with the gift of freedom that our veterans have protected. To all our veterans here today, we thank you for your enormous sacrifices. Thank you all, and may God bless Elmhurst. May God bless all the members of our armed forces, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. We're not going to place the wreaths today, just time and space and the planning that goes into Plan B. But what I would like to do is honor all of the people that have served. If you served in the Army, would you please stand? Thank you. How about the Marine Corps? Probably half the audience. Now, don't tell me no Marine Corps vets here today. This is their birthday. I forget which one it is, but they claim to be the oldest service around, but they're really not. They just have the best PR. And they admit that. Navy, I know we've got some Navy folks here. Thank you for your service.
17-year-old.
Don't be ignoring the Navy.
Here's a Navy guy.
We're here. We are in spirit, at least.
Yeah. I have 21 days at sea, and none of them good. I can tell you that. So I respect the Navy people that ride those boats every day for 90 days at a time. Air Force, I said that. The Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force. Thank you very much, sir, for your service. Coast Guard? No Coast Guard?
No Coast Guard?
No Coast Guard. Okay, good. You stand up for anything. Yeah, good. And the Merchant Marines. You know, those folks, I don't know if you know the story of Merchant Marines, but these people were under danger quite a bit trying to get cargo to where they needed to be. They really get no recognition at, did we have one back there? Oh, that was deflating the bag. Okay, I got it. But we never really seem to have Merchant Marines in our audiences or even around. And we've actually, Ralph will tell you this, and John and I, at Memorial Day, we've reached out and we've tried to find Coast Guard people to get involved in our programs as well as Merchant Marines. But they just can't find them. And hopefully, if you know anyone that's serving the Merchant Marines, tell them we're looking for them. Did I leave anyone out? Okay. At this time then, John, Ralph, let's see.
Musical selection.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, we have a musical selection by the Singers of DuPage, Chorus of DuPage Singers. Very nice. Thank you. And now we'll have Mr. Quigley, President and Chairman of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce. And what else? You got a long title.
And industry.
And industry, okay.
Good morning, everybody. I know you're all wishing you were outside. I'm not. I'm happy to be inside, warm and cozy, but look at that weather out there and think of how many times our servicemen and women have been in a foreign country in this kind of weather defending our freedoms all over the world for centuries. Keep that in your mind. I always like to tell a story before I read the names of those we've lost since we last gathered on Memorial Day last May. Chambers of Commerce and American Legions actually share a parallel life. Both were born out of the Great War. Don't know if everybody remembers that. But while the legions were formed to honor all those who had fought in World War I, Chambers of Commerce were created to make sure that trade and business could go across borders safely because governments were fighting. And now that our military and our allies had secured those borders in Europe, the idea was, how do we get countries to work together to trade, to do commerce, to do business? And so Chambers of Commerce were created to help facilitate that. So we've been doing that for 101 years, but we certainly couldn't have done it without 100 years of support by our military people. And so I'll echo some of the things that Mayor Morley talked about. It's great to come out on Memorial Day for the parade and the post-parade ceremony. It's terrific that you come out in really inclement weather to remember the veterans today. But we have an American Legion post that needs your support more than 2 days a year. So if you can do lunch, if you can do dinner, if you can book an event, if you can go out there to see a band play, do karaoke, whatever that may be, go out there and support them as best you can. I can tell you, I remember when this community had a Veterans of Foreign Wars post, a VFW. We don't anymore. They lost their building, and we've lost VFWs across this country. I don't want to lose the American Legion post. I want it to be here. I want it to be here 100 more years at least. So get out there and support as best you can. Thank you. And now the names of those we've said goodbye to since we last gathered on Memorial Day. John Barrett, Lyman Benke, Richard Bennett, Robert G. Beresford, Peter Caruso, Patrick Conley, Donald Dam, Martin John Facco, Clark Fisher, John Grande, Herbert Gross, Arthur J. Hahn, Robert Melvin Hopp, John P. Jones, Gene Josephson, Frank Ketstadt, Clyde Kessel, James Kokinis, Ronald Laffin, Robert Darrell Lathrop, John Maher, Donald McCarthy, Charles Millard, Thomas J. Millen Sr., Frank J. Mrozik Jr., Frederick Newell, Robert G. Olson, Chester Olszewski, William Patt, Milton F. Persin, Roy Price, Salvatore Ramondi, Robert Scatera, Martin E. Schmidt Jr., Sr., Tony Scarmuzzo, Raymond B. Smith, Robert Stacy, Fred Swizik, Andre Thalmar, Raymond Verdevec, Robert Wagner, and Joseph Zabladel. As I ask at every Memorial Day, I will ask here again. Keep them in their hearts, keep them in your minds, but today, give them a nice round of applause.
Please be seated. Now, we have another selection from the chorus of DuPage. Outstanding. Thanks, Hal. You told me I would like that. You're right. At this time, I'd like to invite Reverend Stanley Harding forward for our benediction.
Would everyone please stand? We stand, O God, out of recognition for your great, abundant blessings to this land. You have poured such richness into this land that we have now been enjoying for so many years. We acknowledge that that's a gift from you. We thank you also for the lives of the women and the men who have served this land, served the cause of peace and freedom around the world, which we have enjoyed, and the blessings that extend into the future, the promise held out for us. We ask, dear God, that you would bless our veterans, all who have served, all who have given of their time and of their substance to be who we are today. Strengthen us in our commitment to them and our commitment to the freedoms that they have won. Help us to reach out to those who are wounded and hurting today. Help us to serve those who have served us. We pray this in the name of my God and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please remain standing. We're going to retire the colors. Color guard, hut head, hut. Mark time, march at the half step, forward, march. Right turn, march. Color guard, hold. Present, arms. Order, arms. Prepare to retrieve the colors. Retrieve colors. Mark time, march. Left turn, march. At the half step, forward, march. Please be seated for a couple more minutes. Just a couple of more things. I would like to invite John Scudder, our commander forever, to come forward. He wants to make a couple of comments. I think he's the longest standing commander we've ever had, isn't he? He just won't give it up.
Thank you, Bill. I apologize for being late, but I was at another engagement where I saw Lori at Bryan Junior High School with my grandson, so I made it over here as quickly as possible. The American Legion is a veterans organization. We leave nobody behind. And I'd like to relate to you a quick story that there was a young man in a food store in Elmhurst who was going through a bad time, a veteran. We found him in the refrigerator, the cooler. He was having flashbacks. Got a hold of Hines VA, drove him out there, got him into residential treatment. So he's getting the help that he needs to live a full life. And that's what we do. We leave nobody behind. And as a closing thought today, I want you to think about this, that everything that we have is predicated on somebody who gave up their tomorrow. They gave up their time to be a father, a mother, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a physician, a scientist, the best home builder, the best mechanic that there is. Everything that we have, we owe to those people. And in closing, I'd like to say again, there are plenty of homes, especially mothers, that will never hear the tone, they'll never hear the sound of, "Hi, Mom, I'm home." Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate everything that you do on behalf of the Post. As long as you keep doing what we tell you to do, you're fine. And he does. He's a good listener and a good talker. But no, he's done a lot for the Post, and we're glad to have him. We are serving lunch at the Post today. I think it's Sloppy Joe's and whatever else. It's usually very, very good. So stop by. Now, I will tell you that the Marine Corps League is there, and this is their birthday, as we said earlier. So when they say stand up and sing happy birthday to them, do it. They get a little upset if you don't sing happy birthday to them. Well, Jim, where's Jim Rogers? Thank you very much for your staff's help here, putting this thing together. We talked, I think, 7 o'clock, 7:30 this morning, and very quickly they put this program together here in the mansion. So we appreciate that. Every year you folks do a magnificent job for us. But it's all part of making this thing come together. Now, personally, I wanted to be outside.
You were the one.
I was the one. No, not true at all. In fact, Ralph and I, this was God's will. You know, it's God didn't want us out there. So again, I just want to thank you for being here, and this concludes our program. Thank you.
Elmhurst. I'm Lieutenant Jeff Hayes with the Elmhurst Fire Department. The threat of winter fires is real. Here are some winter fire facts. Over 900 people die in winter home fires each year. Over $2 billion in property loss occurs from winter home fires annually. 67% of winter fires occur in 1- and 2-family homes. Cooking is the leading cause of winter home fires. Between 5 and 8 p.m. is the most common time for winter home fires. Half of all heating fires occur in the months of December, January, and February. Heating equipment is involved in 1 of every 6 reported home fires and 1 in every home fire deaths. Be sure to pay attention to these details that can help prevent a winter fire. Install carbon monoxide alarms and test at least once a month. Have a qualified professional clean and inspect your chimney and furnace every year. Store cooled ashes in tightly covered metal containers and keep it outside at least 10 feet from your home and nearby buildings. Plug only one heat-producing appliance into an outlet at a time. During the holidays, many of us decorate our house with festive lights, Christmas trees, and decorative candles. Here are a few fire safety tips to help us prevent fires during the holidays. Always read manufacturer's instructions for the number of holiday strands to connect. 40% of all home decoration fires are started by candles. The top 4 days for home candle fires are Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day. Keep candles at least 12 inches away from anything that burns. Although live Christmas tree fires are not common, when they do occur, they are extremely dangerous. On average, 1 of every 34 reported home Christmas tree fires resulted in death. A heat source too close to the Christmas tree causes 1 of every 4 of the fires. Make sure your tree is at least 3 feet away from heat sources like fireplaces, radiators, space heaters, candles, or heat vents. Also, make sure your tree does not block any exits. Get rid of your tree after Christmas or when it is dry. When a light sparks on a Christmas tree, the tree and house will set fire quickly. A wreath is located at both of our fire stations. Each time we're called to a home for a holiday-related fire, we remove one of the red bulbs and replace it with a white one. Please help us keep this wreath red. But most importantly, you, your home, and your family safe this winter by following these fire prevention tips. From all of us at the Elmhurst Fire Department, happy holidays and stay safe, Elmhurst.